All right, Moo, do you think we have everybody?
Everyone's in. Everyone's in.
Okay, great. Mayor Steve Jones here. We will call the October 13th meeting of the Garden Grove City Council to order. And Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Councilmember Brightingham. Councilmember Brightingham.
Sorry, here.
Councilmember Deidre Nguyen.
Here.
Councilmember Bowie.
Here.
Councilmember Klopfenstein.
Here.
Councilmember Kim Nguyen.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Neill.
Here.
Mayor Jones.
Here. Okay, Councilmember Bowie, would you do the honor of leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Certainly. Everyone, please, face the flag in your mind and repeat. Put your hand on your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, we go on to presentations. We do have one presentation this evening from Vector Control, so we'll go ahead and dive into that.
Item 1A is a presentation from the Orange County Mosquito and Vector Control District update, and we have representatives here to give that update.
Good evening, members of the City Council, Mayor Jones, especially a heartfelt good evening to your council member, Stephanie Klopfenstein, and our trustee representing the City of Garden Grove. My name is Rick Howard. I'm the district manager for the Orange County Mosquito and Vector Control District. I know you guys have a busy agenda this evening, so I'm going to go through the slides pretty quickly. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and please ask away. So go ahead and move on to slide number 2. And we're going to talk tonight about 3 different types of mosquitoes. The first mosquito is called the Southern House Mosquito. That's the mosquito that's been in our neighborhood and in our homes and in Southern California for generations. It's ubiquitous to Southern California and Orange County, and it's a native mosquito for us. We then have the yellow fever, or the Aedes aegypti, and the Asian tiger mosquitoes, known as the Aedes albopictus. Those 2 mosquitoes entered the county approximately 2015 down in Mission Viejo. These mosquitoes, as you can see on the chart there, are capable of transmitting Zika, dengue, yellow fever, chikungunya, dog heartworm viruses. These are the guys that are referred to commonly as the ankle biters. Many of your residents in Garden Grove are complaining about them. We're very aware of it. But right now, they're not transmitting any diseases. And so what we're focused on right now, this time of the year, is our West Nile virus positive mosquitoes and what that's doing to your community. And so go ahead and move on down to the 3rd slide. This is Orange County in 2020. This is as of last week. I actually have an update that came across my desk later this afternoon. In Garden Grove, for example, there are now 32 West Nile positive mosquito samples. You have 2 human cases, 2 humans that have tested positive for West Nile virus. Unfortunately, one of those was fatal, and it's the only fatal case we have in the county so far this year. Hopefully we don't have any more. We do have 11 that says we have 9. We received notice from the health department today that we have 11 human cases countywide, and we have 304 positive mosquito samples in the county, and you can see how it's charted out on the right-hand side of the chart there. Going down to slide number 4. We've broken up the county into a grid system. Each grid is 4.5 square miles, and each cell within the grid is 1/2 square mile. So there's 9 cells in each grid. This is La Habra, just as an example for you. Once we get a positive mosquito out of the trap, we set one trap, and those black dots represent a trap. mosquito trap. And so we have one in each of our grids. And what will end up happening is if those mosquito samples turn positive, we'll then do what we refer to as extended trapping. And so as extended trapping takes place, we then go ahead and spread out and we determine the extent of the infection within that certain block or within that part of the community. And let's move on down to slide number 5, because we're going to talk a little bit about Garden Grove here in a second. You can see how we take those grids and we assign them all a number. And you can tell by our heat map there where the numbers and where most of our mosquito samples are. The darker the color, the worse it is. And so in Garden Grove last week, Garden Grove in Anaheim, up off of Chapman, up near Disneyland, just south of Disneyland, off of Catella, between Catella and Chapman, west of Harbor, and in the vicinity of Nutwood, we did a treatment in Garden Grove last week for 3 days, and we have one again starting this evening on the west side. Oh, I'm sorry, that was in grid number 26, so H26, pretty much right smack in the center of that map, and you can see how impacted that area is. And Garden Grove and Anaheim this year are really two of our major hot zones. We also have grid number 33, a little bit down further to the left. It's a red square box around that. And we're actually starting a treatment in there tonight. It'll be for 3 nights. It's 10 miles of residential neighborhoods. We're going to be spraying a product called Delta Guard. It's mixed with water. And what our goal there is to get the flying adult mosquitoes to knock down the disease in them and kill those mosquitoes. And once we go back next week and do our trapping, we'll retrap the area again, and we'll identify what's been happening and if the disease is broken. We've had significant breaks in the disease cycles in other parts of the county, up in the Harbor, Fullerton, in other parts of Anaheim. So that's pretty much the way it's been working for the last few years, and we've been working with your city very, very closely, and we really do appreciate the city partnership in getting the message out. So if you move on down to slide number 6, this shows you pretty much an idea of where our traps are and where the positive mosquito samples are in Garden Grove. If it's a green dot, it means that's the first time it's gone positive in a week. It's the first time it's gone positive this year in that week. If it's a yellow dot, you're going to get 2 to 4. So you see a couple of those. And there's one red down there, one red one that's gone positive more than 5 times. So those are what we're looking at with respect to how it looks in Garden Grove right now. We're pretty fortunate in the sense that we were anticipating a very, very high West Nile year this year, just on cyclical data and cyclical numbers that impacted with the coronavirus pandemic and our inability to bring on as many seasonal staff as we normally do. We're fortunate that the cases haven't been higher, and we have about another month to go in the season. Go ahead and head on down to slide 7, if you would. Okay, there we go. Orange County Mosquito and Vector, as well as probably all the school districts and even your park departments, work with what's known as an Integrated Vector Management Plan, or IVM. And what we are focused on is early intervention. We send notices out to the community. We do door-to-door notices. Every household in the area that we've been treating receives a notice of an upcoming treatment. We work on source reductions. We want to eliminate the sources of mosquitoes, and then we also work on surveillance. And what's going to be out on the street tonight is on the bottom right-hand corner there. You can see a truck with a white light around it, and that is one of our treatment vehicles, and it will be driving throughout those 10 miles tonight at about 8 miles an hour. So I'm going to transition real quickly for you to our invasive Aedes mosquitoes. Those are the Aedes aegypti and the Aedes albopictus we've talked about previously. These are, again, the ankle-biting mosquitoes. They do not transmit disease at this point in time. Our fear is that if a traveler returns to the United States, to their home in Orange County, and they come back with dengue fever or Zika virus, and they get bit by one of these mosquitoes feed on humans. They feed on mammals. And so our native mosquitoes feed on birds, and we just kind of get in their way. These ones specifically go after humans, and they're more than happy to live their entire life cycle, either inside of your home, inside your kitchen, your bedroom, or outside outside wherever there are sources that they can breed in. And they don't need a lot of area to breed. They don't breed in stagnant water necessarily. They will breed on the sides of containers where water once was. Through evolution, they've identified the fact that they are able to lay their eggs, and once those eggs once water has now filled up that source where the eggs are, be it a flower pot, be it a bucket, a child's toy out in the backyard, sprinklers or that sort of thing, these eggs can now hatch out, and these eggs are viable for up to 2 years. You can see in 2016, we had about 5 square miles. 2020, we're about 140 square miles. I actually think we're a little bit more than that now. The southern part of the county is filling in, unfortunately, red, and so we're going to see more and more of these. And the difficulty with these is this is really a shared responsibility. We want to empower the residents to be able to provide the resources that they can help themselves. They can always call us through our website, or through our phone, and we can go ahead and schedule a service appointment. And we've got inspectors in your city every single day of the year. Many of you probably know Danny Bowie. Danny's in the community, and he's one of our great inspectors in Garden Grove. And on the last slide, this is an example. Lucky bamboo, flower pots, flower saucers. That's what we really need to work to clean up. The saucers under the potted plants are really one of the largest, biggest areas that are breeders for these types of mosquitoes. Bromeliads, anything that can hold water, these mosquitoes will lay their eggs on the sides of the containers, and they will eventually emerge once rainwater or sprinkler water has filled them up. So I know you guys are busy tonight. You have a long agenda. If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to address them for you.
All righty, thank you. Colleagues, Stephanie.
Yes, yeah, thank you. First, I want to thank Director Howard for attending tonight. You know, when I knew that the treatment application process was going to be taking place in Garden Grove, I felt it was worthy to have Vector come to the meeting and just kind of give an overview and explain what's going on and why we're doing these different treatments. Director Howard, I think just to clarify, I get a lot of conversation and questions about, we have a ton of mosquitoes, I'm getting bit all the time, why aren't they treating my area? But I think the reason is deeper than that. It's not just because there's an abundance of mosquitoes. There has to be pools that are testing positive for West Nile virus. Is that correct?
Yeah, it has to do with disease. Our primary focus is to protect residents from mosquito-borne disease. And so we're focused on those. If you go back to the second slide, we're focused on that southern house mosquito right now that transmits West Nile virus, St. Louis encephalitis, which we have had a positive mosquitoes of SLE, St. Louis encephalitis in Garden Grove, I believe in 2017. So we focus on the West Nile virus, the disease. We work with the residents to eliminate the breeding sources for all 3 of the mosquitoes, but the southern house mosquito, they breed in your traditional water sources, bad backyard swimming pools, stagnant water, those areas that where the water stagnates. Underground storm drain systems is a huge issue, especially where there's corrugated underground storm drain systems where water has a tendency to accumulate and over the course of the summer dry out, but those little little bits of corrugation are huge breeders. The Aedes aegypti and the albopictus at this point in time, they're not transmitting disease. They are definitely nuisance biters. And we hear routinely, oh my gosh, it's such a bad mosquito season. What happened? Well, it happened in 2015 when they were introduced into Orange County, Southern California, about 2013. They hit us in 2015. And it's not that this is a bad mosquito season, it's that they are now part of our landscape. And we're going to need to do everything we can to work with residents and empower residents with the tools that they need, and we can help them with that so that they can go ahead and fight the bite on their, with our help on their own.
Very true. Thank you so much. I know that OC Vector you guys are far and away doing more than ever before when it comes to outreach and education in the community and in neighborhoods. And so I definitely invite the community to get to know the district, better understand what they do. They're definitely there to help. So again, thank you, Director Howard, for coming out this evening.
Yeah, in fact, ocvector.org, our website, and there is the first picture that pops up. If you click on that, it takes you right to our DIY page. It's got a series of videos, most of them taken in Garden Grove, actually, with Inspector Danny Bowie, or some of them anyway. And that page provides a lot of resources for residents. There's a checklist. There's a series of free videos. And Laura Young, our communications director, is actually on the line right now as well. She's listening. I don't think she's on the phone line, but she's also a big part of this and getting the word out. And I know Stephanie has been a terrific partner and sits on that outreach committee. So we really appreciate the city's partnership.
Awesome. Thank you. Colleagues, any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, George.
Yeah, I do have one question for the director. Director Howard, does Vector Control offer any services where, residents can call and have an inspector, somebody come and maybe, do a walkthrough around their homes and kind of point out, positives and negatives as to mosquitoes and where they can breed and that kind of thing?
Absolutely. If you go to our website, ocvector.org, you can go ahead and go there. You can call us at 714-971-2421, and we can set up what's referred to as a service request. And we can, we'll send an inspector out to the home, work with the resident. If there's a problem that they're having, we will help them resolve it. If it's a larger area issue, the inspectors generally will go door to door and talk to some of the neighbors in that neighborhood. And like I said, you got one of the best inspectors we have in Danny Bowie. He's a Garden Grove resident, and he's a terrific inspector, and he takes his job very seriously. So absolutely. And you can also go on our website and subscribe, and you can get our e-alerts, and that provides additional information as well.
Thank you very much.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else? All right. This was just a presentation. We thank you for that. I also want to draw particular attention to Councilmember Stephanie Klopfenstein, who's very active on this front, and just want to say thank you for all your dedication to this issue. This is a really big deal in town, and to the extent that we've got cases and even deaths as a result of this, it's something we need to pay close attention to, and I feel like we're in very good hands with you watching over it. So thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and if I can lobby for her, she is an engaged member of our board. She participates. She's passionate about it, and we are very lucky to have her on our board. So we want to thank you, City Council, for having her on our board for us.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that a lot.
Great. Okay, with that, we'll move on to oral communications for all bodies. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers?
We have 3 speakers tonight. Mr. Craig Durfee, David Alegband, and Sean Vukan. And we'll just give them a minute to enter to queue up and enter the chamber.
Yes, my name's Great Derby Council. Tonight, I'm going to have several subjects to go through because I've got 3 minutes. First of all, I had wrote a letter to Umberg about my constitutional rights for the access to your meetings. I thought that resolved it. I've got a surprise for you. Last Thursday, I attended the Park Commission. I asked your gentleman who was your communication and acknowledged I was there. And at 5:55, I assumed the door would be unlocked. It wasn't. So the meeting starts at 6, public comment 6:01. And I had to tap, there's no phone number. I'm in the right spot to go in through your protocol. And I'm denied free access as anybody into your buildings. I would say that based on all the public record acts I have of your city, that I would call for to councilman an overhaul of your administration policies and conduct. Because quite obviously you're not aware that on roughly June 8th of 2020, the policy changed that overrides your current policies about grants. In other words, if there's not a budget for it, there's no grants. And yet SCAG's going to come up this year for next year. And so I think it's time to do clean house. The next thing is I want to file a formal complaint about your park director. You know, we've had this time, sir, Mayor, and you talked about your new election. Have you ever thought about the tarnish of our veterans issues historically, since you have endorsed Ms. Dalton, but he did? Have you considered that you don't have trash cans and everything that you need the park commission to make an assessment, and you'll have the planning commission to make an assessment, then you have to submit it as chairman of OCTA to your staff for approval. Ain't happening. So you continue to spin the tail and not make any progress to bring forth a plan of action. Now, next year, there's an active transportation commission meeting, and it'll be in March, and then there'll be grants again. You're not even ready for it, or the $1.9 billion. Who is running the show? Are you just there to all of you just to be attending, or are you managing your own affairs? And on the next door neighbor, people are shouting out, they're being concerned about the speed in the roads, and also in Facebook. Who's running your safety of the communities there? The next thing is that I like to see more of a veteran emphasis and also more of the Ag Transportation Commission, so we can have a voice in Senate. This 3 minutes on for consecutive is not helping our community. Civic engagement there. I don't know if you're aware of it. Students now can be civic engagement by this certificate. All of your families on this board will be engaged if they want to get that certificate. You're not helping the situation. So I already know, and I asked the councilman who has, I will finish. Over the councilman who has the workers in Bixby blight, I asked you to take a look at it. It's a serious violation of the general plan of your city. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Sean Buchan. Mr. Aligband is going to speak under public hearings. So the next speaker is Sean Buchan, and we'll just give him a minute to come into the chamber.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Sean Buchan. I represent District 2. I would just like the council to be made aware, if they have not yet already, by the recent harassment of city officials regarding the ICE incident last week on social media groups by Traffic Commissioner Kevin Hurley, representing District 4. Councilwoman DeWin chose to offer sympathies towards his families involved and other residents when the representative for the district offered no such sentiments yet. A testament to Councilwoman DeWin's leadership right now is an example of what the city needs right now as we try to come together. Ever since Friday, Mr. Hurley has been incessantly tagging and making accusatory McCarthy-esque statements, accusing Councilwoman Nguyen, Mayor Jones, of being socialist, anti-law, and anti-constitution. In light of the recent plot by right-wing white terrorists to kidnap the governor of Michigan, uncovered by the FBI, these types of accusations need to be condemned and met swiftly before they are incited further. If Mr. Hurley would like to voice his displeasure with the council and his group, that is fine. We need to refrain from the incessant tagging of city officials and residents that he disagrees with. I would like the council, and especially Councilman Wee, the councilman of the district that Mr. Hurley represents, to condemn Mr. Hurley's actions and advise him to stop or risk losing his position on the traffic commission, since this type of bullying is conduct unbecoming of a city representative and definitely not one of law and order. I would also like the council to remind Mr. Hurley of GTPD's and the city council's 2017 agreement to not help federal agencies such as ICE. So if this law and order crowd wants to live up to their word, they too should support TGPD and Councilwoman Nguyen as they uphold the 2017 decision as well. Sorry. Because in times like these, I'm often comforted by the words of Councilman Wee. From the November 22nd, 2016 council meeting, we want to make sure that the city as a whole, we advocate a peaceful rhetoric, that we support each other, and we will not tolerate any language that divides us or makes us feel threatened. Our city police should only be concerned about the safety of our residents, not about enforcing federal matters. In my mind, I could never understand why a police force would assist federal agencies in terms of deportation. This is a job for federal agencies, not local law enforcement. Or do these sentiments only apply after an election? Thank you.
Thank you.
That is the final speaker for oral communications. We did receive written comments for tonight's meeting. The first comment that we received was from Mr. Tony Flores, and he cautioned city council members to adhere to their oath of office and obey the laws of the nation, state, and city, and included social media posts from Councilmember Kim Nguyen's support for Tin Nguyen. Leslie Rivera and Ashley Dow submitted emails supporting a youth committee and school curriculum to include anti-racist and diversity. Hui Huang and Bethany Hernandez submitted emails in opposition to Proposition 16, as well as Mariela Vasquez and Sean Dow. And those are all of the written communications that we received for tonight's meeting.
City Clerk, originally you said there were 3 speakers. Is the third one for the public hearing item?
That's correct. The third one is for the public hearing item on the City Council agenda, which is item 4A.
Got it. Okay. All right, thank you very much. We will now recess and conduct other legislative bodies' business. I know we have successor agency. We also have public finance. Which one are we doing first? Scott, public finance?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Okay, we'll go to public finance. Madam Clerk, will you call to order for Public Finance Committee?
Member Brightingham?
Here.
Member Deidre Nguyen?
Here.
Member Bowie?
Here.
Member Klopfenstein?
Here.
Member Kim Nguyen?
Here.
Vice Chair O'Neill?
Here.
And Chair Jones?
Here. Okay, we already did oral communication simultaneously with City Council. Moves us on to consent. There's just 2 consent items, 2A and 2B. Do I have a motion?
Move the motion. Councilman Bowie.
Klopfenstein, second.
Okay, call to vote. Roll call vote.
Member Brightingham?
Yes.
Member Deidre Nguyen?
Yes.
Member Bowie,
Yes.
Member Klopfenstein,
Yes.
Member Kim Nguyen,
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Neill,
Yes.
Chair Jones.
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Thank you. Items for consideration, item 3A.
Item 3A is adoption of a resolution authorizing the sale and issuance of Garden Grove Public Financing Authority Water Revenue Bond Series 2020A and approving the execution and delivery of other related documents. And Ms. Patricia Song is here to give the report.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good evening, Chair Jones and members of the authority. The item before you is a resolution authorizing the sale and issuance of the Garden Grove Public Financing Authority's Water Revenue Bonds Series 2020A. The estimated par amount of the proposed bonds is $22.6 million. The underwriter is also anticipating an original issuance premium of $4.2 million, which will bring the total bond proceeds to $26.8 million. This bond proceeds will be used for two primary purposes. One is to defease the 2010 water revenue bonds, and two is to raise capital for the needed water capital improvement projects as outlined in the updated Water Master Plan. The 2010 water bonds were issued to finance certain water capital improvement projects. Outstanding balance as of June 30th, 2020 was $10.63 million, carrying an interest rate between 4 to 6.4%. In the recent financial review with the city's municipal advisor, Fieldman Rowlap and Associates, it was identified that the 2010 bonds became callable on December 15th this year. With the current favorable market condition for issuers, if we refinance this debt, the underwriter is estimating a net present value savings of $1.5 million or 14.3% of the refunded debt. As a reference, our debt policy and the industry standard practice sets the refunding criteria at 3% for the NPV savings, and the anticipated savings from this refinancing is close to 5 times of the benchmark threshold. In order to achieve the maximum benefit of this financing effort, staff worked closely with our advisor and formulated a structure that allows sufficient new money being raised to fund for the needed water utility capital projects. In July, the city received its 2020 Water Master Plan update. A few key projects were identified to cost-effectively meet the city's water distribution system infrastructure needs. To continue maintaining its strong liquidity and cash reserve, it was determined that it is in the best interest of the utility to take advantage of the market and finance these projects while we refinancing our old bonds. Now, the 2010 bonds maturity will not be extended. This is consistent with our debt policy. The new money portion will have a 30-year amortization period. Stated interest rate is 4%, and due to the anticipated premium, the true interest cost is estimated to be 2.56% per year, which is significantly lower than the old bonds. The estimated cost for issuing the proposed bonds is approximately $200,000, with an additional $140,000 as underwriter's discount. Last Friday, we received a draft rating letter from Standard & Poor's. S&P has affirmed the AA+ long-term underlying rating with a stable outlook. In a discussion with the city's advisor, S&P acknowledged the very robust financials and strong credit of the city, which would likely have resulted in a AAA rating before the pandemic. However, because of the pandemic, they are not giving any rate upgrades to issuers. Tonight we recommend that the authority should take action and adopt the resolution and authorize the sale and issuance of the 2020 water revenue bonds, approve all related documentations to facilitate the bond sale, including an installment purchase agreement, an indenture of trust, an escrow agreement, a bond purchase agreement, and a preliminary official statement, and also authorize the executive director or his designee to execute any other documents that are necessary to cause the issuance of the 2020 bonds. This concludes my report. Our municipal advisor, Anna Sabarian from Fieldman Rowlap and Associates, as well as our bond and disclosure counsel, Cyrus Torabi from Stradling, Yoka, Carson, and Roth are also on the line tonight. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Colleagues, any questions or comments? Or else can we get a motion to move this forward?
I'll move it. Councilman Brightingham.
Councilmember Kane Wynn, I'll second.
Great. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Member Brightingham,
Yes.
Member Deidre Wynn,
Yes.
Member Bowie,
Yes.
Member Klopfenstein,
Yes.
Member Kim Wynn,
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Neill,
Yes.
Chair Jones.
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Great. I'll note that this item also appears similarly on our City Council agenda coming up. We probably don't need to go back through the same presentation again at that time. So with that, we'll move forward. Any matters from members of the Public Financing Authority? Okay, seeing none, we will adjourn and go to the successor agency. So Madam Clerk, will you please call roll for successor agency?
Member Brightingham,
Here.
Member O'Neill,
Here.
Member Deidre Wynn,
Here.
Member Klopfenstein,
Here.
Member Kim Wynn,
Here.
Vice Chair Bowie,
Yeah.
Chair Jones.
Here. Okay, we've already done oral communications. We'll move on to consent, and it's just one item, receive and file the minutes from September 22nd. Can I get a motion?
Moved, Brightingham.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Member Brightingham,
Yes.
Member O'Neill,
Yes.
Member Deidre Wynn,
Yes.
Member Klopfenstein,
Yes.
Member Kim Wynn,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bowie,
Yes.
Chair Jones.
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Any matters from successor agency members?
Mr. Mayor, one matter.
Go for it.
Yeah, I'm just curious. You know, we just did the finance committee. I guess hadn't met in 5 years, and we approved those minutes from 5 years ago, and under consent. And it seems to me, calling these small agencies together simply to approve the minutes, you know, we might be able to put that off until there's actually an item to consider or something before, you know, or is there a need that we have to bring this up and just to approve the minutes?
This is Omar Sandoval, City Attorney. If we were to do that, then you're creating a new meeting with new minutes. And then it's just ad nauseum. We would have to have meetings regularly just to approve minutes. So,
well, that's what we're doing right now. I mean, we're basically calling the successor agency, we're convening it simply for the point of approving minutes. There's nothing else on this agenda other than approving minutes. So,
yeah, and we can't. Yeah, I get your point, and we can cancel meetings when we have no other items on the agenda. What happens with the successor agency is that we have regularly scheduled meetings for them, which is why they're always on the agenda. But if the council wishes, we can put successor agency meetings in advance until we actually have an item. And there will be items because there are warrants that get paid monthly. It just so happens that in this particular one, there isn't any warrants, or maybe there is.
Yeah, I get your point, George, but I think this is kind of a fluke that there was nothing else other than the minutes, I think, on this one, right? For one point. And second of all, just that we're already convening for council anyway, so it's not like we are having to drive anywhere or convene. Just to kind of click this off. get it done.
Seems
But I
like
get your
it'd be confusing to folks, you know, when we're calling a meeting of an agency and there's really nothing to discuss, and you know, it's just more paper and stuff involved. So, anyway, it's just a thought.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Any other matters? Okay. We'll adjourn successor agency. We'll reconvene city council. And that takes us on to consent items. It's recommended that items 3A through 3G be acted on simultaneously unless anyone would like to pull any items. Any requests to pull? Okay, can I get a motion for the consent items?
All motion, Klopfenstein?
Deidre, second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Brightingham,
Yes.
Councilmember Deidre Nguyen,
Yes.
Councilmember Bowie,
Yes.
Councilmember Klopfenstein,
Yes.
Councilmember Kim Nguyen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Neill,
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Thank you. That takes us on to public hearings. We have one. So item 4A.
Item 4A is introduction and first reading of an ordinance approving amendment number A 29-2020. The ordinance is entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Grove approving amendment number A 029-2020 to amend the city's official zoning map to change the zoning of the property located at 8932 Catella Avenue, assessor's parcel number 132-4121, from OP, Office Professional, to C1, Neighborhood Commercial. And I believe Mr. Chung from the Planning Division is here to give the report.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. The subject site is improved with an existing multi-tenant center. The property is zoned OP, Office Professional, with a general plan designation of light commercial. The property is adjacent to C1 zoned properties to the east, developed with commercial retail uses, single-family style dwellings to the south, and a residential care facility to the west. Across Magnolia Street to the east is a C1 zoned property developed with a multi-tenant commercial retail shopping center. And across Catella Avenue in the city of Stanton and unincorporated land, county land, additional properties are developed with commercial retail centers, an apartment complex, and a gas station. In 1998, the city approved amendments which rezoned the property from C1 commercial to OP Office Professional, and also amended the municipal code to allow ambulance service uses in the OP zone, subject to a conditional use permit. Concurrently, the city also approved a conditional use permit to allow the operation of an ambulance service business on the property. The ambulance service business closed its operation in 2004. On August 20, 2020, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to consider amendment number A-029-2020. There were no speakers from the public who came forward to speak in favor of or in opposition to the project. And by a vote of 5-0 with a commissioner absent, the Planning Commission adopted a resolution recommending that the City Council approve the requested zone change. Based on the applicant's request, the property owner has had difficulty filling vacancies in the center and is seeking city approval to rezone the property from office professional back to the original zoning of the property of C1 commercial. The property owner is seeking greater tenant flexibility through expanded uses allowed through the C1 zoning designation. Staff received a public comment inquiring the project's exemption from CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, and the potential impacts from rezoning the property. The C1 zoning is consistent with the property's existing general plan designation of light commercial, which is intended to accommodate a variety of retail services such as markets, drugstores, retail shops, financial institutions, service establishments, and restaurants. The city's general plan calls for commercial uses in the light commercial designation to be compatible with the surrounding area and nearby residential uses. The C1 zone is intended to provide for business at the neighborhood level in small-scale convenience shopping facilities. Commercial zones that are near sensitive uses, such as single-family residential homes, are typically zoned C1, which is the least intensive commercial zoning designation in the city. The city also includes C2 and C3 zoning, which allow for more intensive uses, such as, but not limited to, auto repair with paint and body work, pool halls, bars, smoking lounges, and automatic car washes. The proposed C1 zoning is consistent with the existing zoning patterns in the surrounding area, which includes other C1 zone properties and various multi-tenant commercial retail shopping centers. When the property was approved by the city and developed in 1985, the site was originally zoned C1, and the site was designed with sufficient parking to accommodate commercial retail businesses. Based on the parking requirement for standard retail, the site was originally required to provide a minimum of 61 parking spaces, and the site currently provides 64 parking spaces for a surplus of 3. While the mix of businesses has changed over the years, including after the property was rezoned from C1 to office professional in 1998, the existing building and the number of parking spaces have remained the same. RK Engineering Group, a professional consulting firm specializing in traffic engineering services, prepared a trip generation report to evaluate potential impacts of changes in trip generation from the site as a result of rezoning the property from OP back to its original C1 zoning. Trip generation represents an expected number of vehicle trips originating in or destined for a particular traffic area. The analysis focused on potential impacts and changes from any increase in the site's trip generation during morning and evening peak hours. The analysis concluded that under the proposed C1 zoning, the expected trip generation forecast to result in minimal increase in trips with no significant traffic impact on the surrounding traffic circulation system. Staff, along with the city's traffic engineering division, have reviewed their analysis and concur with the findings. It should be noted, however, as new businesses are proposed in the future, parking adequacy and potential traffic impacts will continuously be re-evaluated by city staff at the time of a respective request to ensure that there is sufficient parking available to accommodate the mix of uses in the center and to ensure any required traffic analysis is conducted that may require a traffic study, traffic mitigation, or applicable traffic mitigation fees. Therefore, it is recommended that the City Council conduct a public hearing, determine that the ordinance is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Title 14, California Code of Regulations, Article 19, Section 15301 for existing facilities, and introduce and conduct the first reading of the ordinance approving amendment number A-029-2020 to amend the city's official zoning map to change the zoning of the subject property located at 8932 Catella Avenue from OP Office Professional to C1 Neighborhood Commercial. This concludes my report, and staff is available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
All righty, thank you, Chris. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, O'Neill here.
Let me clarify. This would just be clarification questions. This is a public hearing, and we still have to open that first. So just to, within that context, you have questions about, clarification questions about the staff report or whatnot.
Yeah, no question. It's in District 2, and I did my homework on this, and it was rezoned for care ambulance years ago, and now we're basically rezoning it back to the neighboring properties. This is at Magnolia and Catella.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but let's hold on any deliberation until we open and close public hearing.
Sure, go ahead.
You know what I mean? So sorry again to cut you off, but let's go ahead and open the public hearing. Madam Clerk, I believe we have a speaker for this item.
We do. We have one speaker, Mr. David Aligband.
Good evening, council members. This is David Aligband. I'm the applicant on behalf of the owner of the property. I really didn't have any public comment, but I just wanted to let you all know that I'm here in case there are any questions for the owner of the property, and appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, any others?
No, there are no other speakers.
Okay, with that, we will close the public hearing, and then maybe let me hand it back to you, Mayor Pro Tem O'Neill, since this is in your district.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just wanted to say that, you know, this property was rezoned particularly for care ambulance back in the day, and now we're rezoning it back to the neighboring property, so I have no problem with it at all. That's all I wanted to say. I will be in favor of this. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, George.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I'm always been a terrible opponent of spot zoning, and I know there's times that it's appropriate, but it always seems to go sideways. In this case, this is one of the rare cases where we get to rectify a previous spot zoning issue. So, I'm all for it, and I concur with Councilman O'Neill on that. I think it's giving it back to the community for how it was originally intended.
Great. Any other questions or comments?
Mayor Jones, I have one question. Just want to clarify. Since this is in District 2, our Councilmember O'Neill district, so I would tend to refer to him. But I just have some general concerns that I would like staff to clarify. Mainly just to protect the neighborhood and the and the commercials surrounding it. Now, this is when I look at the Google map, that address point to some of the professional services like Councilman Brattingham mentioned, but it seemed to be like for the the hairdics and the care ambulance and some of the professional services. And then on the right of it are some of the retail like Taco Bell and so on. And on the left of it are some residential neighborhood. So now why do we want to change it from the, professional offices to neighborhood/commercial? Should we change it to either commercial or neighborhood? Why are we combining them? And if we combine them as that, are we opening up for mixed use, or what's the purpose?
Hi, Councilman Bowie. This is Chris Chung. Just to clarify, we are not combining the use or the zone or changing it to a mixed-use zone. The request from the applicant is to change the zone completely from office professional to C1 zoning. And the reasoning for that from the applicant's perspective is to have greater tenant flexibility to fill the vacancies. There are current vacancies within the property.
I thought that we have changed it to residential/commercial. Is that correct, or one or the other, or how do we do it?
Yes, the general plan designation will not change. Actually, has not changed. It's stayed light commercial even since it was originally developed in 1985. And even when it changed the zone from C1 to office professional, it stayed the same. So, and it will continue to remain the same for light commercial, which is consistent with the C1 neighborhood commercial zoning.
Okay. No more questions. You answered my question, right? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? John, did you make a motion, or would you like to make a motion?
Yes, sorry, I had to get off mute. Yes, I'll make a motion to approve.
I second it.
All righty, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Brattingham,
Yes.
Councilmember Dieterwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Bowie,
Yes.
Councilmember Klopfenstein,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimwin,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Neill,
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Great, that takes us on to items for consideration, item 5A, and as you recall, this is kind of a repeat or similar item to what we heard on the Public Financing Authority. Do we need a staff report again for any reason, or is there anything different about this item? Or colleagues, would you like to hear the staff report again, or can we move straight to action?
go to action.
I move the motion.
Okay, we've got a motion. I'll second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Brightingham,
Yes.
Councilmember Deidre Nguyen,
Yes.
Councilmember Bowie,
Yes.
Councilmember Klopfenstein,
Yes.
Councilmember Kim Nguyen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Neill,
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All right, that takes us to matters, and we do have one listed matter, which is item 6A.
Thank you, Mayor.
Discussion. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I have brought this proclamation forward after speaking to Chief Duray. I was found out that we've had a 5% increase in domestic violence this year, and while that is not a substantial increase, any increase is concerning. So I think it's really important for us to continue on with some of the efforts that we've pushed forward over the last year regarding promoting mental health awareness resources, as well as sexual assault awareness, and bringing forward this proclamation to declare October 2020 and each October going forward as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Garden Grove. And if there's no questions regarding that, I would like to make the motion to approve.
Is this a voting item, or it's a, what's that?
I think it's to agendize it for the next meeting for approval.
Yeah, I see. So you're moving to agendas for the next thing for a formal action to approve. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll second that, Kim.
Thank you very much.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Brightingham,
Yes.
Councilmember Deidre Nguyen,
Yes.
Councilmember Bowie,
Yes.
Councilmember Klopfenstein,
Yes.
Councilmember Kim Nguyen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Neill,
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All righty. Matters from council members. Councilmember Brightingham, District 1.
Sure. You know, we all have been elected onto this council, and you know, by nature we're a political beast, so to speak. And but we're elected onto the council under a nonpartisan basis. You know, when we run for office, there's no R's, D's, I's, G's next to our name. And I think there's a certain level of expectation by the community that we kind of conduct ourselves in that regard, focus on city managers, especially when we're in an official capacity, and try to avoid the state and local things or state and federal things that we don't have any jurisdiction over. I know we all have First Amendment rights, and I know that you know, we all have our own opinions on things. But you know, I would ask that we all consider strongly that, you know, we live in divided times. We have a pretty even split politically in the city, and when we're going to be talking on controversial issues that are not related to the city in any way, that we do so without using the term "our city," or on behalf of the council, or even council member so and so or whatever. I think it's just common sense not to be divisive in these times. Try to be unifying folks, and I just think it makes good sense for all of us, and myself included. I'm not pointing fingers at anyone, just a general statement. I think we should be more cautious in our social media postings, our emails, our when we're on TV, all that kind of stuff. So I'm just putting that out there. I think we should act in a more unifying position on our council, deal with our city issues. Let's get these streets paved. Let's get the police response times down. Let's, do the things that matter to our community. We were elected to be city council members. We weren't elected to be congressmen. We weren't elected to be senators. we're just city council members, and I think sometimes we think we are more than that. So I'll just leave it at that.
Well said, George. Thank you for that. Mayor Pro Tem O'Neill, District 2.
Thank you very much. I'll just echo what George just said. We're in a very crazy partisan national race, and people are smart. They'll do the research. They'll vote their convictions. So let's tone down the rhetoric. Let's do our homework and vote your conviction on who you want to vote for and what propositions you want to vote yes or no on. Just do your homework. Like George said, we're elected to a nonpartisan position at a local level. We're trying to keep the roads paved, keep the water flowing, keep the sewer flowing, provide, public safety, all those things. So let's not get caught up in the national rhetoric. So anyway, that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Deidre Tuhawin.
Thank you, Mayor Steve Jones. I agree with Councilmember George Brottingham and John O'Neill. Most important thing, we do wear multiple hats. We just want to make sure we perform our duty at the council level diligently, and be more positive. Be more positive and unify all of us as one community. We saw many divisions out there, and at the end of the day, it's our neighbors that we need to look after and take care of. So just want to put that out there. Is no matter what, at the end of the day, it's our neighbors that we care for. Thank you so much.
Well said, Tuha. Thank you. Councilmember Fatbui.
Well, thank you to my colleagues, President O'Neill and Tuha, for a reconciled listen message. I think I need to be a little more specific. I echo and agree with all of you, but I think we need to, I at least need to be a little more specific. I think the reason for all of those comments and my comment is because of the recent remark on Facebook related to the 37-year-old resident in District 5 that was arrested by ICE. And there have been some outpouring remarks on both sides about those matters. And some against the action by ICE was furious because they feel that it may have been done so illegally or without due process or without fair process. And the other was upset because of the nature of that comment. Now, I would like to express, and I agree with my colleagues, that, as a council member of our city, our charter is to provide, municipal services, local law and order, make sure that crime are low, making sure that ambulance services is appropriate for our residents. Those are the things that we are chartered to deal with. Immigration matters are not in our jurisdiction. If we do not agree with the certain law, whether it's federal or state, we should talk to our representative in Congress. We should talk to our representative at the state to urge them to amend the law or, mandate that federal or state agency enforcing those laws with due process and fairness. That is what we need to do. We should not encourage people to take the matters into their own hand. That is I don't think it's appropriate for us to get involved in that. I do commend, council member for some of council members in the past who have taken, the effort to make sure that those who are detained and deported are being done so, according to the, to our nation law and with due process and fairness. And that I do applaud. But I think it is not appropriate for us to, shout, the seed of anger to federal agencies, and also to suggest that, our residents should, take those matters into their own hands or not cooperate with the, the law enforcement agency. I think that is not appropriate for us to do, and I sincerely hope that we all should be careful and sensitive in terms of making such a remark. That's all for me to say.
Thank you, Councilmember Bowie. Councilmember Klopfenstein.
Thank you. Yeah, I have several things. Obviously, this is a campaign season, and for most of us, we're campaigning and also sitting on the council. So I think it makes the job very difficult. I'm trying my best to keep my head down and supporting my residents and working hard while campaigning at the same time. Facebook can be a nasty place. We do the best that we can, but I think we have to remember that the best opportunity to learn about each other and where we stand and who we are is to come to each other directly and have conversations. I think that's important. Communication is key. I think we can learn a lot about each other and move forward in a more positive manner if we do so. Moving on, I want to thank Director Howard again for coming to the council meeting tonight and giving that presentation. That presentation, that PowerPoint, will be on the city website tomorrow under the Open Government tab. And I'll also post that on my council page. So for anybody that's interested in taking a look at it again, it'll be available and people can share it on their social media platforms as well. And then I also wanted to just give a thank you to our special resource team and the Garden Grove Police Department. Whenever I bring an issue to their attention or I have questions about something that's going on in District 5 or the city as a whole, they're always so quick to bring the information I need to me and to the residents and communicate with me what's going on. So I just want to thank them. I notice their diligent efforts, and I know the community does as well. And that's all I have. Oh, and Mayor, happy birthday.
Thank you. Councilmember Kim Nguyen.
Thank you, Mayor. So I have a couple things to address. While I appreciate everything that my colleagues have said, and I agree with their sentiments, I feel that it's necessary to address the elephant in the room. Everyone was speaking about my post and speaking about me, and they did so respectfully tonight, so I do greatly appreciate that because that's not been the case in the past. Over the last 4 years, I've been in the center of consistent attacks, and over the last few months, they've been a little bit more relentless. And what's been extremely disappointing has been that some of my colleagues seem to not only engage, but encourage this behavior. When we're talking about the deportation of a Garden Grove resident, I in no way, shape, or form, asked for residents to take to the streets and take matters into their own hands. Many individuals have been stating that I've broken my oath of office and or that I've engaged in unethical behavior, which is a bold-faced lie. A speaker earlier this evening shared some remarks that were made by Councilmember Bowie at the November meeting in 2016 regarding the items specific to ICE and deportation. And the reason why I bring this up is because in Councilmember Bowie's comments tonight, he was specifically talking around me, about me. And I seem to remember very clearly because I watched that meeting multiple times in preparation for the January 2017 meeting in which we passed the resolution promoting community harmony and safety. And in that meeting, he stated things like wanting to foster a community that lives in harmony, wanting to avoid two sides becoming upset and pointing the finger at one another, and in further inflaming a sensitive issue. Discourage rhetoric on one side supporting one presidential candidate over the other, as well as not tolerating any language that divides us or makes us feel threatened. And on that January 24, 2017, I was extremely appreciative of Councilman Bowie for voting in favor of that resolution that I believe he agreed to work on with former Mayor Nguyen at the time. You know, it's disappointing to see that many of our community is engaging in this type of rhetoric, and that Councilman Bowie feels the need to, you know, comment and encourage and disparage me and my record and the work that I do for this city. You can disagree with my personal politics, but please do not be disrespectful about the work that I do and my advocacy for my residents, because my demographic is very different than yours. And it's one that has been neglected and disenfranchised from local government. And it's one that I advocate strongly for. And it's one that I sympathize deeply with because I have personal experience in the issues that they care about most. You know, you constantly want to point the finger at me for being divisive. You're the very one who continues this behavior. And I think that if we want to have an open and honest discussion about that, then you need to be transparent about your behavior as well. And I hope that you follow what you preach at this meeting specifically, and moving forward, don't engage in that behavior and don't personally attack me. And if you do, please call me, have a conversation with me. You're a grown adult, and you have never reached out to me with any concerns about the things that I post or advocate for. So it's always shocking to me to see how vigorously you attack me on social media. You know, I also want to address the fact that we got written communications from a resident, Tony Flores, again speaking to my breaking my oath of office, which again is a lie. He mentions that I allow for comments that speak poorly of our president on my social media, specifically my council page, but he failed to mention the fact that I have also left comments that state Democrats are communists, F the Dem Party, comments supporting the president, and images of hammer and sickle, which I personally find deeply offensive, but because it's a public platform, I leave it there. I am not selective of what I allow on my public page. So if you have an issue, please also look in the mirror and kind of have a conversation with yourself and your surroundings about what it is that you're upset about. I advocate equally for all of my residents, and I think that that's important, and that we all do so differently, but we shouldn't be attacking each other for the way that we advocate. And that's really all I have to say, Mayor. Thank you very much.
All righty, thank you very much. Did I skip anyone? Mayor Pro Tem O'Neill, you went earlier, right?
Yes, I went.
Okay.
Mayor Jones, may I have a couple of minutes to respond to Mrs. Kim, please? If I may.
Yes, very briefly. Thank you. I don't want this to perpetuate all night, so please.
No
go ahead.
issue. I'm just need a minute at most two.
Please go ahead.
Mrs. Kim, ever since I was upset with you regarding your statement in June regarding the you mentioned that the white majority used the Asian success as the excuse to inflict pain on the communities of colors. I found that very, very shocking, and I respond very strongly and sharply about it. Other than that, I have been trying to refrain and tone down my criticism on you, especially with the past two statements that a lot of the residents are not happy with. I'm trying to stay out of it until the recent one, which I was called by a few people about my silence. Why didn't I speak out? That is when I mentioned that I do not agree with you on a few things, but I'm not going to comment on Facebook, and I will speak out on that particular issue at the council meetings. And today I try to refrain from making sharp criticism, other than I'm trying to, point to the nature of the issue, and my statement is not different. My points are not different than other council members. And I was trying to be, very composed in my comment, never trying to attack you, other than trying to advocate for that focus on matters that I pointed out to our cities. And so in the future, feel free to reach out to me, and I will also try to reach out to you if we have any disagreement. I think it needs to be both ways, and I agree with you. I will try to reach out to you if I have a concern. And you're welcome to reach out to me as well, Kim. You have never done that in the past, and I have never done that in the past. But hopefully, from today on, we would have a easier and more open communication among us. Thank you very much for letting me know that I can always reach out to you. That's what I have to say, Mayor Jones.
All right, thank you. I'd like to cut it off right there at that point, and hold on one second, Omar's saying something. Yeah, okay, not yet though. We still have the thing. Okay, thank you for all the comments. I'd just like to circle back around with what and commend what Councilmember Brightingham started out saying, because it's been kind of a steady mantra of mine for years, always trying to herd cats and corral everybody into staying focused on the business of the city, which local government really isn't, is a fairly narrow focus when it comes right down to it. I mean, we're supposed to maintain all the common areas in between the privately owned properties within our city boundary limits, and that's filling potholes and keeping lights on and keeping infrastructure and keeping people safe with public safety. And those are kind of our primary charges. It's the basics, the nuts and bolts of running a city. And, until or unless we get all those things right, I think we should sort of resist the temptation to kind of wander too far off past that. So I think it's a productive discussion. I think that was relatively adult-like argumentation there for what I was expecting. And I would encourage that we all strive to communicate better and work for the common purpose of serving this very beautiful and diverse city that we all represent in what has become a very polarized and divisive and weird sort of a year from COVID to civil unrest and a presidential election cycle as well. So thank you for that. And with that, I'll turn it over to the city manager for city manager comments.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of council, just two things. First of all, I want to thank the city council for approving the water revenue bonds this evening. I specifically want to thank our staff in our finance department and our public works and water division departments. A lot of work went into preparing for this water bond refinance. Your staff went before the rating agencies last week and had a tremendous presentation put together. It was well received by the bond rating agencies, and they didn't sell it well enough, but the rating that we received, AA+ with a stable outlook during these times, was very good for the city. It was very well reflective of the city. And I will say this is one of those exact issues where, somebody mentioned earlier that we got to keep the water flowing. This is tremendously helpful for us to continue to provide good infrastructure to our community, specifically to help with providing clean water to our residents. So again, great thanks and to the council, and also great thanks to our staff for all the work they did to prepare for that. It was a big task that they undertook, and I appreciate everybody's hard work. The only other thing I wanted to mention, I've looked at the agenda over the next 2 weeks, and we really only have a couple items on the consent agenda 2 weeks from now. And it seems to me a recommendation might be in order to cancel the meeting in 2 weeks unless I hear anything from any of the council members. We'll plan to do that unless any of you have any other advice for me. And that's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
All righty, thank you. Sounds good. General Counsel?
Yes, Mayor. I do have an item to report at our closed session. So we had a closed session this evening and prior to the main meeting. And one of the items was initiation of litigation. It's not litigation in court, but it's an administrative procedure. And so the City Council, I do have to report out that the City Council did authorize staff to file an appeal of the regional housing needs allocation units that was designated to the city under the Southern California Association of Governments process. And so staff will be filing appeals when that appeal is due. And the action of the council was unanimous. And that's my item that I need to report this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Great. Thank you, Omar. I'm excited to hear that we're pursuing that appeal by unanimous decision of the council to go kind of push back and fight on that a little bit. So thank you. And with that, we will stand adjourned. Enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone.
Happy
Yeah,
birthday,
thank you.
Steve.
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
Birthday. Happy birthday. Good night.
Good night, guys. Thank you.
Good night.